There's a lot of crazy and entertaining stuff on YouTube. Like a lot. There's also a lot of really educational stuff, and you can learn a lot from YouTube University just watching videos online. We did this a lot recently when we were remodeling our kitchen. We consulted the experts of YouTube quite a bit, and I realized something. Some of them were actually experts, and some of them were just random people who had done it once and then showed you how to do it. Some people were literally taking you along the journey with them as they did it for the very first time. It was really interesting to see the variety of content that you could find for free. Was that really the best way to do it, or is that the way they just decided to do it and it happened to work okay for them? Anyway, it really got me thinking, can you learn to pump and use a breast pump from watching free videos on YouTube? Well, let's talk about it. Okay, a couple of things we need to understand about YouTube, which you probably already know these things, but we do need to just bring them up because they're important. Literally anybody can upload a video to YouTube and say just about anything they want to. There are some guidelines on content, like you can't do illegal stuff. You can't, like, war and, pandemics and stuff like that. They do kind of limit that content, but I could literally say anything I want here for the most part, and I can upload it, and, nobody's gonna care. YouTube doesn't fact check the content either. They just want watchers. So if I say something outrageous or call myself an expert and start making all of these videos in an area and people watch them, YouTube likes that and they will show that to more people, regardless of if I'm saying truth or not. So knowing that, if you see something on YouTube that seems too good to be true, it might actually be too good to be true. For instance, as I was doing some research for this video, I was Googling stuff about milk supply because I knew that there would be some outrageous stuff there. I only did one search and I got lots of content for this topic. I found a video that said, I quadrupled my milk supply in 4 days. Secrets to increasing milk supply fast. All right. Quadrupled her milk supply in 4 days, as well as she said. And I actually watched the whole video of this person. It has 1 million views, so a lot of people have watched this. Yeah, and it was nonsense, right? I'm super glad that she was able to increase her milk supply that quickly. She actually was just coming off of a large milk supply and just kind of, it dipped a little, and then she got it back and called it quadrupling by eating like Super K cereal and power pumping once a day. And I'm like, I am so happy that you were able to do that. But that is not realistic, nor is she an expert in pumping. Does this make sense? So I make a lot of YouTube videos, right? This is free content designed to help you. But here's why maybe YouTube is not going to give you everything you need to meet your breastfeeding goals and pump in the best way. You might be able to piece it all together and figure it out. And if you do, please don't start making YouTube videos saying that you know how to do it because anyway, whatever. Here's what we need to know though. When you're watching free videos like this, you have no access to an expert. So you do not have anyone there to help you with your unique situation, which is fine. YouTube is designed for general information. So if you're looking at how to pump more milk, that's great. But are you an exclusive pumper, or are you a stay-at-home mom? Are you a working mother? Do you have some underlying conditions that make it difficult to make a full supply in the beginning? Just a general video on increasing milk supply may not be what you're looking for. And you're going to have to watch a lot of content to be able to piece together something and then just start doing trial and error yourself. Talking to an actual expert could save you a lot of time and hassle in doing that, but that's just my 2 cents. All right. And another thing about YouTube, just because it worked for someone else doesn't mean it will work for you, right? I hope that it does. And I hope that you're able to find the information you're looking for and it actually does work. But one case study does not mean that this is how it is, okay? Because this woman ate oatmeal for breakfast every day for a month and her supply was fantastic does not mean that the correlation and causation there are appropriate. Does that make sense? That doesn't mean that that's what happens every time to everybody, okay? There are some really good basic principles that you can find for free, right? Supply and demand. That's kind of universal and going to work in a generally same way for most people. A general timeline for milk expression, right? If you're not expressing milk either by feeding or pumping, you're not going to continue to make milk. So we can find a general schedule for stuff like that. Flange sizing, there's a lot of questions about that, but it's not like rocket science. We got to figure it out. And again, having an expert to guide you in all of those things is helpful. But a lot of these principles are just, you can find them for free, okay? So how do we actually prepare for pumping? Let's talk about the pros and cons of a few different areas, okay? For one, you can start by watching videos on YouTube. That's a great place to start. Sometimes you don't even know what you don't know, and listening to other people's experiences or trying to find experts and doing a little research can kind of help you narrow down what information you think you need and what help might be best for you. There's also some paid courses that you can take. I've seen several paid courses on pumping 101, pumping basics, all this kind of stuff. And if you just take a pumping course, it might be pretty general, all right? And as I mentioned earlier, if you plan to be exclusively pumping or stay-at-home mom, not pumping a lot, just a little bit here and there, if you're a working mom and you're really going to be combining breastfeeding and pumping half and half, all of these different scenarios have different recommendations. So if you take a course just on general pumping, that will probably give you some really good base knowledge on just general pumping and where to start. But I'm not sure that it will really help you meet your goals unless it's very focused. So maybe try finding some content that is very specific to your situation, and that might help you narrow down. Just make sure that you're getting the right recommendations for your scenario. If you're pregnant and looking at a course, either on pumping or breastfeeding or whatever it is, especially if you're a first-time mom, I think this is a good idea, but it is kind of like learning to ride a bike before you actually have a bike, okay? I still think it's a good idea to be prepared. At least you've seen a bike before. You've seen someone else ride it. You know what it looks like and how to use it. And then once your baby gets here, you can actually get on that bike and practice the skills you need to make it work, okay? But imagine if you were given a bike and you had never seen one before. You had never seen anyone ride it. What would you even do with that? Like, do you sit or do you stand? How does it go? Why won't it balance? Like there's just, anyway, that analogy is like is like the thing that wouldn't stop going, but you get what I'm saying. It's still good to learn about before you do it, and then that will give you a head start when you do it. But you're also going to need some personalized help, okay? This leads us really well into our next point. Another good place for you to find information about pumping is from Lactation Consultants. And naturally, if you have questions about lactating, you should see a lactation consultant, right? This does get a little bit tricky though, because lactation consultants get no formal training in pumping, right? We are breastfeeding experts. I'm a lactation consultant myself, certified, and I don't remember hardly anything taught about pumping. We did get a little bit of bottle feeding information, but even that was scarce. We were really experts in breastfeeding, okay? So we also know a lot about milk supply, how to feed babies, a lot about the lactation basics, So a lot of that can be applied to pumping, and we can help there as well. But you really have to learn how to pump on your own, either through your own personal experience or through experience in your professional practice, okay? So ask your local lactation consultant or whoever you'll be working with or you have been working with what their experience is in helping pumping moms. Hopefully they are honest in both their experience and their limitations around the subject. I hear, unfortunately, stories about women who saw lactation consultants and they gave them some pumping advice that the mother knew, probably from YouTube, right, was just not correct. And then they all of a sudden lost all trust in their lactation consultant and discredited most of the other things that she said, which is unfortunate because they probably are really knowledgeable about breastfeeding and just a little bit out of their wheelhouse in the pumping arena. And I hate to see that, but we as lactation consultants tend to get comfortable in the things that we do most often. So I'm most comfortable in helping mothers combine breastfeeding and pumping, especially those who are going back to work, because that's what I do and I'm very good at it. But if you come to me with a complex tongue tie issue or a food allergy situation, I do know the basics, but honestly, I would likely refer you to a colleague who I know does that a lot, right? Because I would know they would be able to help you more effectively than I would, because my wheelhouse really is helping working moms combine breastfeeding and pumping. So ask your lactation consultants what they're most comfortable with. If they work mostly with NICU moms, they're usually very good at initiating that milk supply right off the bat, getting pumping started off. But pumping long term, they don't do that a lot, right? If you have a someone who works at a WIC office, they're going to have a more specific set of skills based on the population that they see a lot. So take that into consideration when you're looking for a lactation consultant to help you with pumping. Just find one that does what you want, what you need, right? COVID was terrible for the world, but it also did open our eyes to receiving help virtually. So I actually have an entirely virtual program called Pumping for Working Moms. It is designed for those who are combining breastfeeding and pumping. So if that's you and you're here on this video and you want to learn more about that, it really combines all of the things that I just talked about into one thing. You have easy access to an expert. It's very specific and focused content, and it's from someone who specializes in exactly what you do, right? So you can find a lot of good information here on YouTube, but you are going to have to sift through that and piece it together on your own. Usually, I know at least in my channel, we talk a lot here on YouTube about the why and the what things are, why it's important, things like that. But the how do we do this? How do we actually flange size? Get that correct. How do we come up with a schedule that works for us? What pump is best for me? Those are the kind of things that I can help you with, but not here in a general platform like YouTube. I don't know you. You probably feel like you know me if you watched a few videos, and I get that a lot. But even me, I'm a self-proclaimed expert, right? So not everything I say you can take, to the bank. I do know what I'm talking about, but anybody can say that, right? So I think this is the tricky thing when we're using YouTube to meet our goals, right? You just have to be careful, for one, who you're listening to. Do they know what they're talking about? Do they have the experience to back it up? And is this information specific to you? So I do think you can find that. And I do think a lot of these options are good in helping you prepare. You need reviews from users and moms who are actively in the trenches using these pumps and figuring this stuff out. That's really helpful. An online course where you can go back and refresh content when you have questions and need to is really helpful as well. Having a lactation consultant, someone to ask when you have a question, is super valuable, right? We kind of need little bits and pieces of all of these things to be successful. So I think in conclusion, YouTube has a place, and I'm going to keep making free content for you on YouTube to help you and to help you get to your goals. But realize that on YouTube, I'm talking to a much wider audience. If you want more in-depth, personalized experience, if you want to actually talk to me, I live inside my program with my members because I actually get to know you. If Melissa posts on the forum with a question, I know her and I know her baby's name, and I can help give her better recommendations because I know a little bit about her story and her as a person. And so if that's the kind of thing you're looking for, that's what I do. If not, I'm going to put another video right up here, and you can watch another one because we love free content on YouTube. I'm so glad you're here. Please subscribe if you are new. Helps us grow our channel and get to more moms like you. All right, see you next time.